I've been wearing Vivo Barefoot Shoes since 2020, so it's high time to talk about why I'm still wearing them. How have they affected my foot health? Are they comfy? Do you have to get used to wearing them? Is it just a fad? Let's get into it. Here's a quick recap of what barefoot shoes even are. Barefoot shoes are flat, thin, and are typically very flexible and light in weight. They also have a wide toe box, giving your toes lots of room in the shoe and allowing your feet to feel as though you are barefoot when walking around. When I first slipped into my barefoot shoes, I was shocked. The ample toe space and immediate comfort were a stark contrast to the constricting feel of my usual shoes. Unlike typical shoes that often need a breaking in period, barefoot shoes are flexible and pliable from the get-go. This meant that I felt right at home in my barefoot shoes the second I put them on. Gone were the worry of blisters and tight toes. I found myself enjoying the freedom and comfort that these shoes provided from day one. I was always that weird person who liked to take their shoes off in class, sometimes even my socks. What a weirdo. The wide toe box is not a feature to gloss over. I didn't realise it at the time, but this is something I've always wanted since I was a kid. I've always bought shoes a size too large for as long as I can remember, because my toes always felt cramped. Whenever I put on a shoe that was the right size, my feet would feel as though they were being crushed, and I would say that the shoe was too small for me. And from then on, I always bought a shoe that was a size larger than I needed. So it's safe to say I enjoy my freedom of movement. I like being able to squat wherever I like, run, pop a pistol squat, jump, and lift weights all in the same shoe. What a great feeling. And as such, they quickly became my go-to footwear for all occasions, leaving my old shoes to gather dust. However, it can take a while for your feet to strengthen due to having no support in the shoe. During extended walks, I find my feet fatigue and ache, and for those times I suggest bringing your old shoes to change into when you reach this point. Having a pair of typical shoes with cushioning really helps as a reserve, as I found once my feet do fatigue, walking starts to feel absolutely terrible. Without some backup shoes, you might just find yourself stuck in the middle of nowhere with terribly achy feet. Weightlifting is an area that I found the shoes to be extremely useful. As an avid gym goer, I would typically lift with no shoes on at all, allowing for the full use and stability of my foot for lifts such as the squat and deadlift. However, when it came to competing in lifting, barefoot was not an option. Cue barefoot shoes. With these shoes, I was able to walk onto the lifting platform and lift as if I was wearing no shoes at all, providing me with the most confidence for my lift. Throughout my time at my most recent powerlifting competition, it felt like I was cheating because I was using my everyday shoes and not those expensive weightlifting shoes everyone else was talking about. Even though technically I was actually at a disadvantage on the squat, because weightlifting shoes do give you a small performance boost on that lift. But regardless of that, I still felt like I was being cheeky, getting away with using my day-to-day shoes to lift with in a competition. So, in terms of lifting, I think these shoes are fantastic, but the same can't be said for running. I'm a much more novice runner compared to lifting, and while running in barefoot shoes feels natural, extended runs really tire my feet out. After one run, my foot was so fatigued I actually had to limp around with a walking stick for days while my foot recovered. So I would advise gradually increasing running exposure in barefoot shoes over time, and having a pair of cushioned running shoes on standby might be a useful idea. One aspect of barefoot shoes that I was pleasantly surprised in was their performance in adverse weather conditions such as rain or mud. I've worn them around muddy golf courses and out and about during rain, and for the most part, the shoes are much more waterproof than they look, although the muddy golf course wasn't very kind to my bright orange pair. However, I find myself quite stunned by their performance in the rain. I wouldn't have expected them to provide so much protection due to being covered in holes for breathability, but I do feel safe wearing them in the rain as they have held up for me so far. Another aspect of barefoot shoes that surprised me was the pleasure of feeling the surfaces that I've walked on. A simple woodland path can become a sensory forest. Each rock poking out the ground can become a massage point, using those bumps in the surface to leverage a massage into my feet. This is something that typical shoes divorce you from, the very feeling of the earth beneath your feet. Despite their initial cost, Vivo Barefoot Shoes have proven to be a worthwhile investment. My first pair have remained in wearable condition, although showing some signs of wear and tear, still feel comfortable and get the job done to this day. My much newer orange pair have come apart at the seams a little, and this was my own fault. After wearing them around the golf course and getting them covered in mud, I hand washed them. The water was too hot, and I believe it started weakening the glue in the shoe. A bit of super glue has helped in the meantime, but I'm disappointed that this happened. So I give you the advice to clean them in cold water, or just avoid wearing them on muddy golf courses. Before I got my Vivo Barefoot shoes, I did try a cheaper alternative. Me and my friend dubbed them sock shoes. They were cheap. Were basically socks with a sort of grippy, thicker bottom. And while these were okay, they were still tight around the toes, and as such I didn't end up wearing them that much. These days, if I wear my normal shoes, they feel alien to me, constricting my toes, isolating my feet from the feel of the earth, and overall just feeling quite uncomfortable. The one thing I didn't expect was also the sense of feeling taller in normal shoes. Barefoot shoes are so thin by comparison that when you put on a pair of typical shoes, it feels like you're walking around on a heightened platform. This makes me think while I'm walking around in barefoot shoes, I'm walking around at my true height, while everyone else is walking around pretending that they're taller, seeing the world from a slightly higher perspective than they naturally should. All in all, Vivo Barefoot shoes have proven to be so comfortable and freeing for my feet, I don't want to wear anything else at all. They give my toes the room that they have always wanted. Or perhaps I'm just a hipster.